Hi everyone, welcome to the Atman Show, and I have a very special guest. His name is Alok Kumar, and Alok Kumar is a distinguished teaching professor of physics at the State University of New York at Oswego. He was born and educated in India. He has been teaching in the American higher education for about 4 decades. He is a fellow of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, Germany, and a NOVA NASA fellow. He is active in fields of atomic physics, chemical physics, history of science, and science education. So, sir, please go ahead and complete your introduction. And for my viewers, I'm going to say that today we are going to talk about this book. It is called Hindu Science. And it's available in Amazon. Please go ahead and get your copy. So, sir, go ahead and please complete your introduction before we begin our interview.
Uh, First, let me thank you, Anamika ji, for inviting me. It's my privilege. This conversation will allow me to interact with you and with your, uh, uh, viewers. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. First, I live in Oswego. That's how it's pronounced.
Okay. Sorry.
Oswego, New York, and I'm a distinguished teaching professor in physics at the State University of New York. And I've been teaching in the American higher education for more than 4 decades. And, teaching in California and in New York. I have also worked a little bit in Germany as an Alexander von Humboldt Fellow, and in Japan, again, collaborating with the Kyoto University there. So that's my credentials, and I grew up in Haridwar, a holy city. So whatever I have achieved in my career, in my life, I attribute it to that city and my upbringing in a household there. So my parents and that city, that's what has shaped me. And I became interested in the ancient Hindu science about 4 decades ago. And it's a personal journey, that has enriched me thoroughly. I have loved every minute of it. And the question that I used to wonder about as a child is that India was labeled as a golden bird, Sone ki chidiya. I thought if India was a golden bird, it must have done something in science and technology, and not just in religion and philosophy. But I did not see that anywhere in my books, and that's what started me on this journey. And I have published many books related to that. And the end result of all that work is the history of science that we are teaching today. It is highly incomplete, where it's not a true account of what happened with humanity. For example, the contribution of India and many other civilizations are overlooked. So that's a short, introduction of myself.
So my first question is, you said that what libraries did you consult to write your book? I've heard that you did not find much, books in India. Is it because it was burned by our invaders like, our big Takshashila and Nalanda? The libraries were burned. That is why you couldn't find the book, So can you talk about where did you find and all these libraries and stuff like that?
Oh, by the way, the reason this is true that I could not find books in Indian libraries, but not because of the burning of Takshila, Nalanda, and so on. Those things happened
Mhm,
many hundreds of years ago.
mhm.
The reason I could not find is because the following generations means after independence, Indian authors did not write books and publicize their own work.
Okay.
So Indian academia, they were not storing, libraries were not storing books on the history of science in India. They were more interested in knowing about what is happening in Europe, but they did not know about their own heritage, about their own culture, about their own scientific contributions.
And I've
The
heard that
way
historians like Romila Thapar, they are more interested in glorifying our invaders rather than our own heritage and culture.
uh, well, there are many scholars who feel there is nothing wrong with the history of science that we teach today, which is, basically propagating this colonial agenda. Uh, Unfortunately, it's not true, uh, because if something is true, then you should be open to, uh, interrogation, questions, and most of these people, they don't want to debate about it. They just, are pushing their agenda. And as a result of that, the ethnic contributions to the history of science are not recognized. That's a little bit unfortunate. But my feeling is the way things are changing, uh, you know, within my lifetime, most of these ethnic civilizations will be considered, will get their due recognition.
Okay. All right. Can you talk about Arabic texts like Al-Khwarizmi, Al-Baruni, what they wrote about Indian civilization?
Let me, because these names may be, unfamiliar to your viewers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let me say a few things about Al-Khwarizmi and Al-Baruni you have mentioned. By the Middle East, at one time, did very well in science and technology. It is popularly known as the golden age of Islam. And during that period, Al-Khwarizmi, as you have mentioned, Al-Masudi, Al-Baruni, Al-Euclidisi, Ibn Laban, Ibn Sina, Al-Razi, Al-Baruni, these were the top uh, scientists of that golden age of Islam. Uh, the most interesting thing is all these names, these are the top people in the Middle East, and they are famous for studying Indian science, Hindu science. That's a story we have not shared much. You mentioned Al-Khwarizmi. So let me share a few things about Al-Khwarizmi. When we are talking about Al-Khwarizmi, we are talking about 9th century.
Mhm.
He was from a region called Khwarezm, and that's how his name is Al-Khwarizmi. Uh, he was so famous that the word algorithm in today's mathematics that has come from his name. The reason we call zero zero that has come, which I'm going to share in a minute, that has come from his name. In trigonometry, we call sine theta. Why? Who chose that word sine? Again, that is connected to him. So his imprints on the modern science are tremendous, yet very few people know about him. So let me explain what is his contribution to zero. Well, first thing is he wrote 3 books. The title of one book was Kitab al-Jabar wa al-Muqabla. Second one was Kitab al-Hisab al-Hind. And third one was Ziz al-Sindhind. I mean, as you can see from the title is using the term Hind. That tells you that he was not producing that knowledge. He was basically defining the knowledge of India, the knowledge of Hind. So he became famous by defining Hindu science. That's a story we do not share much about. Now, in India, for zero, we use the word shunya. Shunya means nothing. When he used this term, the word for nothing in the Arabic language is sifar. So he used the word sifar in place of shunya. That sifar, when European learned it from the Arabs, became cipher. So as you can see, sifar and cipher, similar pronunciation. Then the Italian decided to spell it with Z. And then when French learned it from other European cultures, they called it zero. So that's the story of zero, where Al-Khwarizmi has a very important role to play. Another thing, in sine theta, in trigonometry, sine theta is, in a right angle triangle, sine theta is perpendicular divided by hypotenuse. That's what we call define sine theta. In India, for example, Aryabhata, he called it Jaya. Now, when Al-Khwarizmi introduced it, he used the term jib or jab. That's the term he used. Jab, if those who know, who have lived in northern India, they know jab means in an Arabic language, that means pocket. Mm-hmm. That's what it means. So when European learned trigonometry from the Arabs, the word for pocket is sinus. So sinus means pocket. So they use the term sinus. Then they decided, okay, let's abbreviate it. So they started writing sin, S-I-N. But sin has a different meaning too. So they decided, okay, they are going to write sin, but they are going to pronounce it sine. And that's the history of sine theta, which is basically, it's such a multicultural, history, where the role of India, the role of Middle East, the role of Europe is something we should share it with the young children in elementary school level or middle school level. However, unfortunately, we do not do that, because the moment you tell a child, oh, this thing is coming from India, the child is going to say, what is India? Suddenly you have a reason to globalize that child, to making that child a global citizen, rather than just have a local focus. And we are missing that opportunity. unfortunately. So talking about this, Al-Khwarizmi, he basically introduced uh, the Hindu science to the world and became famous. Similar thing with AlBaruni. When we are talking about AlBaruni, we are talking about 11th century. By the way, AlBaruni was patronized by Mahmud Ghazni, the first Islamic invader who came to India. AlBaruni was sponsored by him. So he came with the Islamic invader, and his job was to support or to meet his needs. So the thing that he did was, and for which he became famous, he decided to write a book, Tariq al-Hind. That's his book. That means the history of Hind, history of India. That's his most famous book. Again, as you can see from the title of that book, he was writing about India and he became famous, internationally known for his work on India. That's a story. It's a fascinating story. If you read these books, they are saying that India, or Hind, as they call it, is far more advanced than their native places. That's a story we unfortunately do not share much with the general audience, and but things are changing, and so I'm quite hopeful that in the coming years or in the coming decades, we'll be teaching a different history of science.
All right. Moving on to our next question. Book written in Spain ranked the civilization. India was ranked number one based on the contribution of science. So, can you talk about that?
Now, book written in Spain. Do you know who wrote that book?
No. Can you tell me?
No. Okay. So I have to tell you
Yeah.
an interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
This is the book,
Oh, wow. Okay. Science in the medieval world. Okay.
Science in the Medieval World.
Okay. I'll read it.
And I am the author.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this book is based on 11th century Spain.
Okay.
So in 11th century, there was a scholar, his name was Said al-Andalusi.
Okay.
Um, Andalus means Spain, so means side from Spain. He died in 1075. He decided that, okay, let us compile a history of science in the whole world and analyze different civilizations. So he divided all nations into, like, he considered India, Persia, Middle East, his own country, Spain, China, Africa, Baghdad, and so on, So these were some of the civilizations is considered. I forgot Greece, and so on, and document their contributions and ranked them. So in 1075, he wrote a book. It's called Tabakat al-Umam. That's the title of the book. That means category of nations, because he was ranking, different civilizations. And he was a Muslim, by the way, a staunch Muslim. He was his job was the role of a Qadi, means his job was to decide civil matters based on Sharia. So the reason I'm mentioning all this is he was a staunch Muslim, and he wrote, the history of the world. And when he ranked different nations, he ranked India to be #1 in science and technology. Now, this was a very popular book throughout in the medieval Europe. Uh, Basically accepting that India is the leader in science and technology, and that was a common knowledge at that time. Other European authors wrote similar things. However, it did not fit well with the colonial agenda. So that this book, was basically, not favored by many European nations. And as a result of that, today, before I rediscovered it, it was not known to the English-speaking world. When I was doing research for my own book, I found this book, cited again and again by medieval authors, and I could not find a copy of that book. And that, as a researcher, if you fail, that is a very, it's a exciting thing that you cannot get it. That means you can create it, you can find it, and change the world. And so that's what I did. I found a copy in Lebanon, another copy in Turkey, and one copy in Ireland. And all these 3 copies I compared. They were written in Arabic, and that's how this book, Science in the Medieval World, as I have mentioned, this was published. By the way, this is the very first map of the world. That's what this picture is. And so this was my first book, became quite popular, and even today, it's a popular book. That's the reason you are asking about it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Moving on to our next question. You said Rudyard Kipling said it was white man's burden to educate Indians. Although Indians were so advanced, #1 in science, why did he say that? And can you talk about that?
By the way, Rudyard Kipling, let me share something about Rudyard Kipling also, because
Okay.
your viewers may not be aware of it.
Yeah.
He was born in Mumbai.
Okay.
Rudyard Kipling was born in Bombay.
Okay.
That's where he was raised.
Oh.
And he became a journalist,
Uh,
and he was a poet and became quite famous. And then he lived in England, and later on, he came to America and lived in America. And that's where I think he died. He died in America. He was celebrated by the colonial powers, no question about that. And when America captured Philippines, at that time, he wrote a book on this capture of, not a book, sorry, he wrote a poem about celebrating that victory of America over Philippines. And that poem was White Man's Burden, that it is white man's burden to civilize people of color. It is white man's burden to feed these people of color. It is white man's burden to educate them. It's white man's burden, to protect them, and so on. Basically, that's what he, wrote, but he wrote it for Philippines. Later on, this poem was used for people of color. Whatever is written there is wrong, is incorrect. And that's part of the reason today, when we talk about Rudyard Kipling or when we talk about white man's burden, we do not, we just only cite it as a historical fact and we negate it. We don't support it. Nobody believes in that, it's a white man's burden. No. People of India, people of China, people of other cultures, they did extremely well. And to give you an idea, when Jesus Christ was walking on the street of Jerusalem, at that time, the Indian GDP was 1/3 of the whole world's GDP, 33%. That was what was the China, another 33%. So these two countries put together had most of the wealth of the globe. So obviously, the way India was depicted later on as a poor country, that was not true. That happened during the colonial period. In fact, even in their own documents, even their own, economists, they are saying that. And I can give you an idea. In year one, as I mentioned, Indian GDP was around 32%. In year 1000, that's when Mahmud Ghaznavi, right before he came, it was 28%. In year 1500, it was 24%. And by year 1947, it became only 4%. So the decline happened during the British colonial period. Something, we do not talk about. Today, by the way, it is close to 7%. So we have just improved a little bit, but we have a long way to go.
Yeah, but I was seeing some economic trend. It was saying India is number 5 right now in the whole world, and by 28 it will be number 3.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is correct. Right now, the top 5 economies are, America, then comes China, then Japan, Germany, and then India. So India is number 5.
Yeah.
And even the country that colonized India, the United Kingdom, is behind India right now.
It's beyond India.
Yeah. And within a year or so, India will supersede, I think, Germany and Japan.
And become.
In fact, Modi has talked about it. He has openly said that that's my guarantee, that in my third term, India will become the top 3 economy of the world. Yeah. So.
All right. Moving on to the next one. Major mathematical invention of India. Can you talk about? I know we all talk about Vaisheshika Sutra, Aryabhatta, and all Brahmagupta, but just in a brief and a gist, like if you can tell.
See, when a child is born, that child, before we teach alphabet to that child, we teach numbers 1, 2, 3. And in that 1, 2, 3, when we write 11, we do not write 11 as 10 and 1. We write 11 as 1 and 1. Means the location of a number defines its magnitude. This is what we call a place value notation. This is a technical term. We call it place value notation, means the location of a number defines its magnitude. Today, it is the same number system that is used all over the world, and India was the mother of this number system. So that's one, major contribution of India. The decimal system that we have around the world, it was India's contribution. The invention of zero, because in a place value notation system, in certain locations, if there is no number there, then what to write there? And so they chose a number zero for that location. And so that's how zero was invented. And by the way, it has a serious role to play, the philosophical role. It evolved out of Hindu religious philosophy, because when we define God, we define God as somebody where you can assign some attributes. We call it, Sakar Swarup of God. So like, Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, and so on, they had a shape, they were attributes. There is another form of God, which is, without attributes. So, but it's without attributes, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have any power. In fact, that's the essence of life. That's the essence of this whole globe. And I don't want to go too much into that, but that's how zero evolved. So this mathematical concept of zero evolved out of the religious philosophy of the Hindus. Hindus knew Pythagorean theorem, where square of the base plus square of the perpendicular is equal to square of hypotenuse. They knew about quadratic equation. They knew about Fibonacci sequence. Fibonacci is interesting. Leonardo Fibonacci, who was an Italian mathematician, he wrote a book, on mathematics. And right in the beginning of that book, he wrote that he is learning this Indian numeral system. And for that, he's traveling around the world to learn it. And in that book, he said, I'm writing this book based on that Indian mathematics. And that's where the Fibonacci sequence is defined. So Indians knew Fibonacci sequence much before Fibonacci. So these are some of the, I have already talked about trigonometry and geometry. These are some of the contributions, and let me drink a little bit water.
Yeah, and also like to add to this, I was also talking to one of the podcast with Subhash Vyas. He's telling that Gurutva Akarshan, the gravity was way much more 2,700 years defined by Kannad, Professor Maharishi Kannad, before Newton defined a law of gravity.
Yes, that is true. Maharshi Karnad wrote a book called Vaisheshika Sutra. In that Vaisheshika Sutra, he is explaining why water is falling.
Yeah.
Or why water is going up in the form of a cloud. All that he is explaining, and he is saying that water is falling because earth is attracting it. Earth is exerting a force on it, in the downward direction. So the concept of gravitational force was known to Hindus long before Newton. But I must also share another thing, where I should give some credit to Newton that indeed the concept of gravitation was known to Indians or to Hindus. However, it was the genius of Newton to provide a mathematical form to it. I have not seen that mathematical form, the mathematical formula where the magnitude of that force of attraction was defined. That was Newton's contribution. By the way, Newton was greatly fascinated with the history of science. That's a story we do not, that's not very well known even to scientists, but that is true. He learned about, he even learned Arabic because he wanted to become a better scientist. Those kind of things, for some reason, when we teach history of science, we do not share the complete story. We share stories selectively. That's, that's the reality.
So, okay, so we talk about maths. So, can we talk about little bit of major contribution in science and astronomy?
Okay, let me first share about astronomy, and then I'm going to share about science.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So first, astronomy. Uh, the most important thing that happened in the last 2000 years is that we believed in that Earth is stationary and sun and moon and everything is moving around the Earth. What we call the geocentric uh, solar system. Geocentric system, basically, Earth base, where Earth is at the center and everything is moving around the Earth. As we teach, we say that Copernicus was the person who said, no, it's not the Earth that is at the center, it is the sun. And all these planets are moving around the sun. When we are talking about Copernicus, we are talking about in the last 500 years.
Yeah.
In India, in 5th century, Aryabhatta has defined a heliocentric solar system. So we are talking about 1,000 years before Copernicus. That was India's contribution. Now, the most interesting thing is Aryabhatta, his book is called Aryabhatta. When he wrote his book where the heliocentric system was defined, he said that this is an ancient knowledge of India. Because this knowledge is dying, it is disappearing. To revive that knowledge, I am writing this book. So he wrote that book at the age of 24, and heliocentric system is defined there. And let me explain it to you. Why do I say that it's a heliocentric system? And it's very important for your viewers to know it. See, it doesn't matter whether you choose Earth at the center and see everything moving around it, or you choose, sun. There is one little difference. And the little difference is Mercury and Venus. These two planets, because first it is the sun at the center, then is Mercury, then is Venus, and then comes Earth. Earth is the third planet.
Yes.
So these two planets, Mercury and Venus, we call it inner planets. Mm-hmm. Now the outer planets are Mars and Jupiter and Saturn and so on. So whether we are using heliocentric system or the geocentric system, the period of the time to rotate will be same whether we use heliocentric or the geocentric for the outer planets. However, for the inner planets, for Mercury and Venus, it is the in a geocentric system, their period will be equal to the period of the sun, while in a heliocentric system, they will have different periods. So if there is a different periods assigned to Mercury and Venus, that means you are dealing with the heliocentric system. And that is the case in Aryabhata's book. And his values are very close to the values we believe in. So you can imagine, there is another thing I just thought about it. In year 2000, scientists, they decided that, is the beginning of the second millennia. So let us define the top 100 discoveries or inventions in human history. So they gave this assignment to this American Association for the Advancement of Science. We call it popularly as AAAS. So AAAS, they have a magazine called Science Magazine. And on January 14th issue in 2000, they defined those 100 discoveries in human history. Interestingly, out of 100, 98% were European discoveries. There were only 2 discoveries that were given to non-Western world, and both were given to India. Mm-hmm. One was the invention of zero, and the second one was Hindu astronomy. And by the way, it is not I who is saying Hindu astronomy. Mm-hmm. This is AAAS saying that it is Hindu astronomy. They did not use the term Indian astronomy. They used the term Hindu astronomy. Mm-hmm. That was among the top 100 contributions in the history of human being. Okay. So you can imagine how much India contributed to the history of astronomy. It's a story. Unfortunately, even today, we have not documented properly.
Do you agree with that 98% to European? I don't agree. I don't agree to that.
Most people don't agree. So it's not just, you and I, a large number of people do not agree with it because there was no mention of the Middle East. There are no mention of, China. The only other civilization they mentioned was Mayans. Because when they talked about astronomy, they said Hindu and Mayan astronomy. So these were the 2 astronomies that they considered. So that was, so India has contributed a lot in the history of, if you read Vedas, they are constantly talking about planets. Yeah. So they were the great observer of the sky, and they contributed a lot. So no question about that.
I think I've already told, like, we should start a movement and claim what is ours, and change the narrative.
That is not an easy thing. It will happen someday. Yeah. But it's not an easy thing. And then the reason is, for example, if you see, China, China poured a large sum of money in defining Chinese science. Yeah. They established an institute in Cambridge University called Needham Institute, where they poured large sum of money, they poured books, they poured scholars, so that the Chinese science could be defined. And as a result, there was a book written, Science and Civilizations in China, a very popular book written by with multi volumes, by Joseph Needham. In contrast, in the Middle East, because of the petrodollars, Saudi Arabia and many other countries, they poured money, but not much is supported in India. India has not provided resources to define Indian history.
It is
And
like
that is it.
you're bribing education, you're bribing knowledge, you're bribing a narrative. So what
It's,
is real should come real. Like, what is the authentic should come. Why we should like pour money to get the real thing to the people?
no, it's not an issue of bribing. It's an issue of, for example, you are doing your work,
Yeah,
but why are you doing that work? Because you are getting a salary from the bank.
yeah.
As simple as that. So these scholars who are working, they have to be a part of a system.
Mhm.
And if the system is not even there, there is no history of science department in India. Why there is no history of science of department? Because there is very little. The system is not supporting it. So it is not an issue of bribe. It's
Mm.
an issue of setting priorities.
Mm.
In India, that is not a
Right.
priority. Yeah. So
Probably we have become maybe if our economy grows, maybe we can pour some money. I don't know, maybe in future.
it's not a issue of whether we have money or not.
Uh,
It's an issue of priority
I
again.
understand. Okay.
I can give you an example.
Yeah.
You go to Harvard,
Mm.
you go to Columbia,
Mm.
you go to Cambridge or Oxford, and so on. History department is very well established, and where they attract the very best scholars in that field. In India, the top brain is not going to history, they are going somewhere else.
But that
And the
was not the
reason,
case when we had Takshashila, Nalanda, and so many universities back
that's right.
1,700 years ago.
That's right. And but how many people know about it? That's a problem. So we have to uh, find our own heritage, define it properly, so that we can unite the country, we can make country prosperous in that process. We are missing that opportunity,
Okay.
but it will change. So that's the contribution of some of the some brief introduction of Hindu astronomy. Now, another, I do not know how much time I have,
No, go ahead,
because,
go ahead. Like, go ahead.
you
I'll
know,
complete everything.
yeah. So one thing is, we always say, oh, Indians were good in thinking, but they were not good in technology. The truth is, you do not create number one GDP in the whole world by ignoring technology. So this is all wrong. And I can give you an example of how good were Indians. See, when Alexander the Great came to India, he almost lost, but eventually he prevailed and he imprisoned Porus, the Indian king. Then he released Porus and gave his kingdom back. And Porus was, highly obliged. So he wanted to give some precious gifts to Alexander. So among those, diamonds and jewels that were given to Alexander, another gift that was given was steel. Steel was given to Alexander because Alexander could not have steel in Greece. Indian steel, which is called Falade Hind in Persian language, and so the swords were made from Indian steel. So the steel making technology, in fact, the word is steel, if you see is history, it has a Sanskrit connection, which is very well accepted. So steel was Indian contribution. Rust-free iron, Indians were good to create rust-free iron. It was not that in India somewhere rust-free iron is available and they just, if you see the iron pillar of New Delhi, that's a rust-free iron. There is no rust on it.
No,
Just think.
I want to tell you one thing. Like in the Qutub Minar, they say that it is called Vishnu's thumb, and the steel is still not rusted. You think it's a
Yeah, that is true.
yeah, and they just when the Qutubin then Aibak even did not rule for even 5 years. How can he make such a Qutub Minar for which was like dated 1,000 years back, and it actually was Vishnu's thumb, and he made it to he told the world that
Oh,
it's Qutub Minar.
yeah. By the way, the iron pillar that is there,
Mhm,
it is accepted, well accepted. In fact, if you go there,
mhm.
it is written on a on a board, that it was created by the Hindus.
Yeah.
So there is no confusion about that.
Okay.
It is a very well accepted fact. And this is not the only place where we have rust-free iron.
Mhm,
If you go to Dhar in Madhya Pradesh,
mhm.
in a mosque where there are pillars, it's called Lat Masjid, where those pillars are. Again, those pillars are out in the open and no rusting. You go to Konark temple in Odisha. That temple, the beams have rust-free iron. So Hindus knew how to make rust-free iron, and they were very effective at it. Just imagine what will happen to if our cars are made from rust-free iron. All that if you're lucky that you live in the south, but if you live in the north, in wintertime, cars they get in touch with the salt, and then the rusting starts, and they look ugly. After a few years, all that can be stopped.
So you
So,
think we lost our knowledge? We are not using that knowledge, or somebody took us that? Why can't we use that knowledge now?
oh, then who is going to buy a new car? If your old car is looking good, you will not be buying a new car. So you say, so basically, uh, car companies, they are not fools, they are smart.
They don't want to use it.
Yeah, so that's how it is. Uh, but I have to, because I do not know, I don't want to take too much of your time. Uh, I want to mention one thing
Mhm,
where I think Indians, made a tremendous contribution, and they are making that contribution affecting us even today, and that is Ayurveda.
mhm,
In Ayurveda, the role of mind in the welfare of human body and mind, they are interconnected. And the role of mind, Indians or Hindus realized it long ago, uh, and they use dietary uh, prescriptions. They learn about plants. They learn about the art of positive thinking. and so on. And that has revolutionized medicine, and it is revolutionizing even today. Yoga, that's another, contribution of Hindus to mankind, and the dietary, thing that I just mentioned about, that has led us to become vegetarian. That's a, Hindu concept. And it is a very well-known fact that the word hunger can be, we can easily take care of if we become vegetarian. That's a very well-known fact. It's established by, well accepted by scientists. But, it's not practiced. So if
People
we
are, I think,
live
like,
a Hindu lifestyle, many of our problems will disappear.
yeah. Okay, I have another question. Scientific avenues are tools for moksha. What do you mean by that? We all know that, we take birth and, reincarnation. We, based on our karma, we take rebirth, and finally, if our karma is very good, then we go into moksha. So we get rid of the birth and death cycle. So, but how can the scientific avenues help us reach moksha?
Okay. Now, as you have said, by the since you mentioned about AlBaruni before,
Yeah.
uh, AlBaruni in his book, on AlBaruni's India, basically history of India, he said, if I have to define who is a Hindu by just one thing, that will be reincarnation. Hindus believe in reincarnation. All other religions do not believe in reincarnation. So that's a central feature of Hindu religion, that based on your karma in this life, you'll have, your next life. By
So
the way,
what I want to say, but AlBaruni must have been very, very advanced and modern to accept this. But in today's world, nobody's going to accept it.
oh, uh, by the way, it's not just AlBaruni.
Mm-hmm.
Many of these Al-Khwarizmi and all these people,
Mm-hmm.
these were very honest people
Yeah,
in their assessment. That's the reason Said al-Andalusi
yeah,
ranked Hindus number one.
yeah,
He was a Muslim.
yeah.
Al-Baruni ranked India very high in science and technology. He was a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Al-Khwarizmi, writing book on about Hindu science. He was a he lived in Baghdad. He
Mm-hmm.
was a Muslim. You know, so these people were very, very honest. No
Yeah.
question about it.
Yeah.
And they accepted
Mm.
openly that India or Hinds was the a leader in, not a leader, but the leader in science and technology. So we were very good. But coming back to your issue
Mm.
of moksha,
Yeah.
uh, it's a moksha is a state where you go beyond the cycle of birth and death.
Yeah.
Now, that can be achieved, uh, you know, through knowledge also. Like, for example, if you, read a conversation between Narada and Sanat Kumar in Chandogya Upanishad.
Mm-hmm.
So there they ask, okay, tell me how can I achieve moksha? So they ask, okay, tell us, what knowledge do you have that can lead you to moksha? You already know, so that I can decide whether you are at a high school level or intermediate level or undergraduate level or master's level, so that I can teach you.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, the answer was, I already know grammar, I already know mathematics, I already know, some of these mathematical sciences. Because sciences, music, fine arts, these were all avenues to achieve moksha. So, for example, when Aryabhata wrote his book Aryabhatiya, he wrote, if you can master this knowledge that is explaining about the, uh, physical universe, you can achieve moksha. So Aryabhata was saying that astronomy is a tool to achieve moksha. Now, you mentioned about Maharshi Karnad.
Mm-hmm.
When he wrote his Vaisheshika Sutra, in that he has mentioned that if you can acquire, by the Vaisheshika Sutra is basically the property of matter. That's what he has defined.
Atomic theory.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you can master that knowledge, you can achieve moksha. So music, fine arts, astronomy, mathematics, all these were tools to achieve moksha. And therefore, science was bound to prosper, or all these fine arts were bound to prosper in India. And that's what happened.
So basically, you're saying that science, religious, spirituality, they're all together. It's not separate like today.
That is true. That is true. Another thing I want you to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the first person who thought about God, that there is a God. What inspired that person to think about God? I want all your viewers to think about it. And the answer comes to the creation. You think about the creation, and when you think about the creation is beauty, that can lead you that, okay, who created that? And I'm going to give you something, by the way, I have it with me, and that's a statement from Einstein, which is, as I have mentioned, that the only way you can learn about God is you learn about creation. That's the best way to learn about God.
Mm-hmm.
You see the beauty of creation. And what is science? You learn the beauty of creation. You learn about creation. You learn its mechanisms. And so Einstein, he wrote on November 9th, 1930 in New York Times Magazine. So it's a printed, well-documented statement.
Mm-hmm.
A contemporary has said, not unjustly, that in this materialistic age of ours, the serious scientific workers are the only profoundly religious people. So he's basically saying that becoming a scientist is essential to become a religious person.
Yeah.
This is what Einstein wrote in New York Times Magazine on November 9th, 1930. Unfortunately, how many of us know about it? Not too many.
And also, like now, Oppenheimer, a new movie has come. Everybody has cited that they have read Gita. Even Einstein, Irving Schrödinger, they all know Sanskrit and they have read Gita and things like that.
By the way, in my book, Ancient Hindu Science, that you have
Yeah.
shared, in that book, I have talked about Oppenheimer.
Uh-huh.
Just remember, he learned Sanskrit language.
Yeah.
How many of us learned Sanskrit language?
Yeah.
He did not learn to achieve God.
Mm-hmm.
He learned Sanskrit language to become a better scientist.
Yeah.
That's what he did. And that tells you the richness of Hindu literature is amazingly, rich. unfortunately, it is kept as it's a best kept secret, which we are not sharing it with the world. But we are trying to change it. That's the reason I'm here with the
Yeah.
Namika.
That's the reason
So
I'm
someday
here.
we
That's the
can
reason my
change that.
podcast is here. Okay.
Yeah.
So last, in the interest of time, last question. Can you talk about Indian festival and its relation to science, like Guru Purnima, Holi, Dashara, Diwali, Ganesh Chaturthi, Basant Panchami? Everything is related to science. Can you tell how?
Uh, what date is today, by the way?
Today is like I forgot. Wait a minute. Let me see my phone. Today is Sunday, 30th July. Yeah.
Okay, no, I don't think it's 30th. It's 29th.
No, it's 30th.
No, it's 29th.
Why do you say so?
Yeah,
Is
it
it a
is.
trick?
See, there is a reason why I ask you this question.
Yeah.
If I say it's 29th,
Mm.
how did you say it's 30th? You looked at your computer screen and perhaps saw the date mentioned at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah.
But if you are living like a Robinson Crusoe, where you don't have a computer, then what will you do? How will you figure out what date it is?
By looking at star and sun.
You can keep looking at stars. There is no way you can figure out that it is July 30th.
Okay.
Nobody can.
Okay.
So it is not possible.
Okay.
And that is the reason I ask you this question, that there is no way the system that we use, it is very complex, where we have just defined certain things based on whatever we want it, and we just follow it because it works. So you have to remember in what months, how many days. Certain months will have only 27 days and so on. This the different months will have different number of days. By the way, I made one mistake right now, which someday your viewers, I see, I wonder if they will be able to catch it or not. But anyway, uh, so this is the calendar that we use is very complex.
Okay.
It is very inefficient. Just imagine if you are getting a salary that is, like what Bill Gates is making, then where based on how many hours you are working, in different months, you'll be making different amount of money. It's very inefficient.
Yeah.
Now, let me now come back to the Indian Hindu system.
Yeah.
Hindu system, month is defined by the moon and year is defined by the sun.
Okay.
So Indian system is called lunisolar system. And Indian calendar is a lunisolar calendar. I should also share the Western calendar is solar calendar. The Islamic calendar is lunar calendar. Indian calendar is lunisolar. It is the most efficient calendar that can work forever. And that defines that the ancient Hindu seers, they were really smart people, because just like I just ask you that whether it's today is July 20th or 29th or 30th,
Hmm.
and we could not resolve. But just imagine in India, if I ask you, oh, today is it Amavasya or Purnima or Chaturthi or Panchami or what? Very easy. Just wait for a few hours. We will look at the sun and we'll figure it out. Because month is defined by the moon that you can observe easily. Defines the month and sun defines the year.
Okay.
And that's how it is. So Hindu calendar is a lunisolar calendar, and the different festivals are defined by the moon or by other luminary objects. So, for example, Diwali is always on, Amavasya day, means there will be a new moon day, there will be no moon. Moon, means there will be no light, it's going to be a dark day. The same way they have, Ram Navami is, ninth day. Purnima, or Ganesh Chaturthi is on the fourth day. So on different days, the most of the festivals in India are basically either defined by the phases of the moon, or they are defined by certain seasons, like Holi. That's where you, evaluate how your crop is. So, like, for example, those who have lived in northern India, in a village, I do not know if that happens in Delhi or not, but if you grew up in a village in India, then on the day of Holi, you take a long sugar cane, and in the front you tie the seeds of jaw, which is jaw is oat, uh, uh, and then you burn it, and then you eat it, and then you figure out the quality of those seeds. So all these festivals are related to certain purpose. In Dashera, I do not know, again, by the reason we do, oat and not wheat, because, oat came first, wheat came later. So in Hindu tradition, which is a very ancient tradition, that's what happened.
Like here you're talking about
So
Holi as a crop, right? You celebrate because you define the cutting of the crop in Holi, right? Am I
yeah,
right?
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Then, but in like religious tradition, it is something else. So there is a religious significance and there is a scientific and
That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
In everything,
yeah.
the same way, Diwali,
Hmm.
you right before the winter season, you have to clean your house.
Yeah,
That's Diwali.
yeah,
But you are celebrating the victory of Lord Rama.
yeah.
So there is a religious significance and there is a scientific significance. Everything, that's how it is done in India.
And
So
Dashera, you were telling something about Dashera.
uh, the Shera, which is the uh, in Hindu month of Ashwin, is the 10th day, in the luni-solar calendar, but we celebrate that's, uh, on that day, we decide the quality of our seed for plantation.
Mm-hmm.
If I do not know, as a child, you have seen that you grow, this jaw, and I'm forgetting the English proper name for that. And you grow it, and then those sprouts you put it in your ear, and then you walk in city. I mean, as a child, I did that in India, and again, what you are doing is you are seeing, because once you plant those seeds, all you can do is you can feed water, and that is it, and fertilizer. But if your quality of your seed is not good, then it's so what they did was they planted it first on a small scale, check the quality of the seed before they actually planted it in their fields. So all these festivals have a religious significance as well as scientific significance. And unfortunately, we we are not aware of it. But that's our role. This is extremely important, that every generation must preserve their knowledge that they have inherited from the previous generation, improve that knowledge, and pass it to the following generation. This is because if they don't do, then knowledge will disappear. And that's what has happened. During the colonial period, India lost its, knowledge, and we are paying a price. And a very good example of it is, something which many of your viewers may relate to, that we all love our mother's food. How many of us learned those recipes? Not many. Maybe Anamika has learned those, but I did not. Now, mothers, they are not going to be there forever. Someday, they will disappear. And when they are gone, all we have left is those memories, because we cannot, and with when I'm talking about memories, those foods, because we did not learn them. So the same situation is at a cultural level. If you do not preserve this knowledge, it is going to disappear. And by the very commonly people say, oh, it's history. It's what happened yesterday. Why do I need it? And I tell them, think about it. Can you function as a human being without your memory? And what is memory? Is what happened yesterday. That's what your memory is. Without memory, you cannot function. Just like if you cannot function as a person without memory, a culture cannot survive, cannot flourish, cannot excel without its history. So history is extremely important. So defining your own heritage is extremely important, so that you can learn from your own, mistakes and don't repeat it. And I think I have taken a lot of your time.
No, but I liked it. Like, I want to learn it. Like, I really enjoyed talking to you. So finally, do you have to say anything, any final comments to my viewers of the Atman Show?
Whatever I have shared is tip of the iceberg. Whatever I have shared with your viewer, it is just, some salient features. The massive literature is behind it. That is waiting to be unearthed, that is waiting to be discovered. And so I strongly suggest to your viewers to get involved, explore it and define it. When I'm saying explore, means explore the history of India, history of Hindus, define it in the form of a book, in the form of a lecture, or just for your own personal knowledge, because knowing it is extremely important. And as I have mentioned to you, that I'm talking about tip of the iceberg. For example, I did not even mention about plastic surgery. But plastic surgery came from India. I mean, Shushruta Sahinta defines it very clearly. It's mentioned all over the world. We are so fortunate that we belong to a tradition that has impacted humanity in such a major way. Unfortunately, we are not aware of it. Or, we do not know the extent of that impact.
All right. Thank you, sir. And I'm really happy that I had this conversation with you. And we'll again, set up some more time to have another session. But for now, have a nice day and good luck.
Yeah. Thank you so much for again inviting me. It's a pleasure. And I would be happy to come back. And I wish your viewers, by the way, they can feel free to contact me. My email address, you can write it, in your description, or it's defined written in my book.
Okay.
So if they read the book, my contact information is there, and they should feel free in contacting me. And again, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Yeah.